Hello, my name is Darlinda McTuck, and what you're seeing right now is a picture of myself and my email, dmctuck@e1b.org. Now, today I'm going to be recording a presentation about Google Forms, with the focus being on the basic functioning and how to get more out of the Google Form responses with add-ons in Google Sheets. Now, what I'm going to click on right here is just this is an agenda for the recorded presentation. Like I said, the focus is basic functioning of Google Forms and then some add-ons. So notice we are going to explore some basic functioning of Google Forms, creating questions, setting preferences. Then there's a grading feature that's built within Google Forms. I'd like to show you a little bit about that. And then, sometimes because the Google Forms are, in a digital form, sometimes, there's a little bit of concern for cheating. So notice there is an option to shuffle the order of response choices for a question. And then there's also an option to shuffle the question order. And then again, we're going to be looking at some add-ons to get the most out of the Google Form responses. But again, those are within the Google Sheets. There is a resource here. You can see it says sites.google.com/view/mctuckresources/home. And that website is right here. It's my Google Resources for Educators. I'm starting to work on some things here. Notice when it comes in, we're on the home page, which is welcoming you, and then it says some different choices up here, and I clicked on Google Forms. So what you'll see here, there's some help with Google Forms. So again, if after we show you some things, if you need to go back and look at some things, there's some nice little resources there for help, and then some ideas. What can you do with a Google Form in your classroom? Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, what I did is I just opened a new tab on my computer. I am in Google Chrome web browser. Now, you can do a couple things here. You could go over here to the waffle where your Google apps are. You could certainly open up your Google Drive. Once it opens, you can just go over here to New. Now, you don't see Google Forms listed there. You have to click More, and you would get Google Forms. Another thing that you can do, let me close that, and I'm going to open a new extension, or excuse me, a new tab. What I have here are my Google Chrome extensions. I have one called Quick Create Plus. I can also click on that and I can easily start a new form to include going to a templates galleries for forms. Okay, so now that you have, opened up a new form, whether you went into your Google Drive or you have some kind of extension, doesn't matter how you get there. You just start with this blank untitled form here. Now you can simply click here and give it a title. I'll just call this a demo form for webinar. Notice they start you with one question. And also, if you want this title to be up here, once you've typed it, the cursor's in there, just click up there, and that pops it in there for you. All right. Now let's take a look at making some questions and what sorts of questions we can even make. So notice over here, we have some options. We can add a question. We can add a title and description. We can also add images, things from YouTube, and we can add sections. But let's start with the plus to add a question. But we already have one question over here. So let's just click on that because, like I said, they're getting us started. So where it says untitled question, that's where you actually type your question. So I could say which one is your, and again, you're going to be making these questions up based on, your curriculum, your learning outcomes. Which one is your favorite holiday, let's say? So I'm going to keep this as a multiple choice, but please notice if I do this drop down, I can do a short answer. This would be great for students to type in their name, to type in an email address, to put in a few sentences. Paragraph is, if they're going to have a much longer response. Multiple choice, check boxes, drop down. Now the file upload that you see there, you can build that into a question. However, in order for the students to or even someone else to upload a file, they have to be able to sign into a Google account. But the Google account would be, between a student and a teacher in something like a Google Classroom, or perhaps on an education domain at like your school account. So again, there has to be some connection between the people before that can be used. There's a linear scale. This would be great for, one being liked at the most, or one like at the least, 10 like at the most, multiple choice grid, check box grid. You can also have a pre-formatted date and time. The nice thing about that, if you click on I'll show you that in a second. The date and the time, if you were collecting responses and you want all the dates to be in the same format, instead of, doing a short answer where everybody types it in different, you have them choose a date. I'll show you that in a minute. So we have which one is your favorite holiday. We're going to keep it as multiple choice. Notice I just clicked on option 1. I'll say, New Year's Eve. I'll say, St. Patrick's Day. I'll say Easter. Put in 4th of July. Now I can keep going and having as many options as I would like. So I could go down here and I could say Thanksgiving, and I could also add Christmas. So I can have as many options as I would like. Now, if you would like to see at any time what your form looks like, you just come up here. See, you have this little eyeball. It says preview. If I click on that, it'll actually give me a preview. This is what my Google form would look like right now. Okay, so if somebody took this, they would just simply click on whichever one is their favorite, and they would click submit. So that's what it looks like for the students. So let me just click on that. When I say that, I closed out that tab where the preview was. Now I'm back where I'm working on my Google form. So I said I was going to show you adding a question over here. I'm just going to go ahead and say add a question. So now you can see I've clicked in another question. Another thing that I can do, if I was going to have a bunch of multiple choice, what I could actually do, if I go back up to the first question I did, I could actually click on here and duplicate that, and then just do any editing I need. So I can do that. If I need to get rid of a question, I can garbage can it. If I want to make it required, I can click on that. That makes it so that it has to be answered. And I'll show you what that looks like. Let me click on that preview again, that little eyeball. You'll notice that now it has a little key right there that says an asterisk means required. So they would have to answer that question now. Okay. Let me just close that tab. I'm going to go back here. All right. Now, remember, if you need to know who responded how, you need to make sure that you put in a question for their name. So you would add a question and you would come down here. You would choose short answer because they're just going to be typing their name. And you could say, type your name as, you could say, if you need it to be a certain way, you could give an example. You could say type your name. You could say example. Typing in how you want them to type your name. You could say, whatever you want there, so that then when they respond, they just type in their name. And again, I'll show you what that looks like with the preview. So here's what they see when they're doing a short answer. They just get this little option to put this. Okay. So that is them typing in their name. So just remember, if you want their name, you have to type that in. You can also reorder these. Notice there's like little dots right there. I can just click on that and grab that and put that back at the top. So now the first question would be, type your name. And then I was also going to show you how the date question looks. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a question. So when I add a question, I'm going to go over here and choose date. So I'll say date. So I can say, select today's date. So what happens with that, excuse me, notice this is what they would see. It says select today's date. So if they come down here, they click on that and and today's date is actually highlighted. So then if you wanted to collect the dates and they all be in the same response, they would end up looking like that. So that just keeps everything, the same for you, keeps it consistent. Whoops. Yes, okay. All right. So there's creating a few different types of questions. Notice we already have one response up here because I had, answered to that. So the one that I answered was, which one is your favorite holiday? So what's nice about that is the students begin to respond. You can actually come in and see a summary of responses and individual. Now I'm going to grab a Google form that I already have a bunch of responses in, just so you can see what that looks like. So we were in the question section, and then there was the responses section. Let me look for one that I know. There we go. So I'm going to go to this blended learning models quiz. So notice when I come in here, here's this blended learning models quiz. It says responses 37. Now, if I click on that, what I can actually do is come down through here, looking at that. That was just the name and the name and the email. That looks kind of weird as data, but again, you can see that people did respond. And again, you can, like I said, set up an example. There was an example of the email. Now, when I come down here, see how you can see this. So here's 37 responses. Okay. So again, you can see the question and you can see how they answered. So there was quite a different array of questions there. You can even see how many said what. Say 12 said flipped classroom, 15 said flex, 7 said lab rotation. So as you go through, you can see, the different responses here. What's nice, if you go back up here, you can also click on individual, and you can literally click through each one. So I can see exactly what each person answered. So I could click through and see all these individual responses. Okay, so again, this is all built. I'm just going to close that out, go back to our demo form. This is all built right within the Google Forms. So you are in the questions section and you are building your questions, building questions. And then once you start to receive responses, you actually just go to the response section and you can see those. You can see it as a summary and you can see it as individual. Notice you can even turn off that you're accepting responses. You don't have to accept them anymore. So if you reach a certain point, you want to shut the form down, you may. Now, I want to show you how you may insert an image or a video into a question. For example, if I'm an elementary teacher, I may be working with, obviously some younger children, like K through 5, that sort of thing. But I may, like, let's say I'm the kindergarten teacher and we're working on, some different things. And I need pictures. I need pictures in order to do the lesson. So I could actually come in here and say, images and try to find some. But also, if I go back, if I'm in my Google form, notice right here, there's an image, and right there is an image. So let me just scroll down. Let me go back to this question right here. So any question you wanted to edit, you just click on that question. Now you're in the editing mode. So if I click on add image here, notice I don't have to go out separately. I can just literally, I could bring it up from my computer. So if I did do some kind of Google search and found some animals and put them in a folder, then I could have gone that route. But I can also just search right here. The nice thing about searching within your Google form, it says right there, results shown are labeled for commercial reuse or modification. So I'm just going to type in animals again and search. So now, I'm starting to get some animals here. I can go down through here. Let's see. So let's say that I want these giraffes. Whoa, where did my giraffe? I just lost my giraffes. Oh, there we go. So I click on the giraffes and I say select. So now what happens is the giraffes are right there. Okay, the giraffes are right there. And notice I can, I do have some things I can do. What I did is I clicked on the three dots by the image. Okay, I could change that. I could even resize it just by selecting it and dragging it down. So then what I could do, with those three little dots, I could center align it. See that? So I could put it in the center. So then I can, put a title up here. So, I can have an image there. So I could use the image if I needed the image to be part of my question, or I can also have it where it is part of my response. Okay, so I can also do that. Just gonna garbage can that. There we go. All right, I'm gonna click on that image and add. And actually, what I can do is again, I can put the image as part of the question, but I can also, let me just close that for a second. Let's say if I want it to be if I want it to be an option for an answer, notice how the image comes up there. So I do that. I can come out here and search. And I could actually just specifically look for giraffe and I'll say animals. So let's say now I find a giraffe. And I just select and do that. So the giraffe will actually come in there. See, it's a little bit smaller when it goes into the question, but I could literally have, I could have a picture in every one of those, okay? I can also have a video be part of a question. So what I can actually do is, so I can say add video. Now I can do a video search if I've already been on YouTube and I have something. I could say giraffe. So here we're going to learn about giraffes. I say select. So now what happens is, notice there is a video right here. So I could say, giraffe video. Okay. All right, so I can add videos and I can add images as I need. Now, another thing that can be done, you can certainly have images for, choices or as part of a question. But let's say I'm a secondary teacher and I'm perhaps math or science. So let's see if we can get New York State math regions. Let's just see what we can find there real quick. Let's just go and we'll go into geometry. See what we can find. So there's an examination from August 2017. Now, if I scroll down through here, I mean, for me to type this question into Google Form is crazy. I mean, all the, there's images and there's, there can be formulas and there can be all sorts of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to screenshot this. Okay. So you can screenshot things in different ways. I have an extension up here I can screenshot with, but you can also, depending on your computer, you could have shortcut keys. Also, I'm on a PC. I have a snipping tool. So however you normally get a screenshot. So I could use snipping tool. So notice my mouse or my cursor changed. Oops, let me just let that go for a second. I'm not going to save that. No, I'll say no. So I'm going to try the snipping tool again. What I realize is I want to cut out that number 4. There we go. I don't want the question to be automatically labeled, unless that was right, but it wasn't. So now I have this, and I can just say File, Save As, and I can, I could save it if I want to. I can make a folder of questions, whatever I need to do. I can also, in the snipping tool, again, I can, do different things with it. But again, we're not looking at the snipping tool today. We're just, I'm getting questions, as far as a screenshot. So what I can actually do, we already saved the changes, so I'll say no. So now if I go to my demo form, what I can actually do, I'm going to have a multiple choice question. I'm going to put an image in here. This time I'm going to my computer. I'm going to get that screenshot. Screenshot geometry. Oh, there it is. Okay, and I'm going to click open, and yep, there it is. So now what you can see is that's actually my question. So when the students come in, that's the question they see. So what I can actually do down here, where it says option 1, I do 1, I do 2, I do 3, I do 4. So what does that look like for the students? Let's click on that little eyeball again. Take a look here. Let's go down and see our questions. So there is my question right there. So the students, if the choice was, if 2 was the correct choice, they would just go ahead and choose that. But again, so that it looks like I typed in that question, but it's really just an image. Okay, so I mean, there's some basics of getting started. Another basic with Google Forms is this little color palette. So you can actually come in here and change the color. You're not stuck with purple. We're not going to take a survey right now. Go back to the color palette. You can even do an image. So there's different things that you can put at the top of this. You can even upload your own. See how there's different themes here, depending on what you're doing. Oh, look at that. We have one that's even active. Work and school. So whatever category you want to pick. So you could certainly change up that top part of your Google form. Now, so we've looked a little bit at creating some questions. So then here's what happens. There's a grading feature, a self-grading feature within the Google form. So what happens is if you go up right here, this looks like a little cogwheel. Notice when I hover, it says settings. I'm going to click on that. Now notice there's 3 areas here: general, presentation, and quizzes. Now, if you want to limit this to 1 response, so if you wanted the students to only be able to take 1 response, then this would be students that, are able to sign into a Google account, or another person, could be an adult, they sign in, they can only do 1 response. The other thing that can happen here, notice it says edit after submit. Now you might be saying, why would I allow, edit after submit? Let's say you create an assessment to give the students. You think it's going to take them about 20 minutes instead, in a 30-minute class, so you figure they'll get done. But let's say they don't get done. So if they don't do something such as submit, everything they've already done is lost. So let's say they answer, 15 of 16 questions. The bell's about to ring. If you don't let them edit after submit and they just come out of they're like, oh, the bell's going to ring, and they just jump out and they don't submit, they lose everything. If they can do edit after submit, they could submit and then finish it later. Okay. You can also, this is where you can let the response, like I was showing you those summary charts in the blended learning models quiz. You could actually let the students or other adults see that, whoever's taking your Google form. You could also collect email addresses. You don't have to, it's an option. You can show a progress bar. Now, remember I was talking about features that would potentially decrease the cheating because it's in a digital form. We can shuffle the question order. So what would happen is every student would get the quiz in a different order. So my question 1 wouldn't be my neighbor's question 1. Okay. You can also do a confirmation message to the students. Otherwise, it just by default says your response has been recorded, but you can type anything in there. Congratulations on finishing the form. Read pages, 1 through 10 for homework, answer questions 1 through 4, whatever you want to put in there. Now, so that was the general, presentation, now quizzes. Notice it says, make this a quiz. As soon as you say, make this a quiz, how do you want to release the grade to the students? Immediately after they submit? Later, in other words, but notice it says turns on email collection. So, but again, there is a chance to manual review. And can the respondent see missed questions? You may or may not want that, but if you save it till later, it'd be nice for the kids to see what they missed. So I'll just say save for now. Watch what happened to our question. So now, remember I said you could click on any question and edit? Watch what happened here. Now we have an answer key. And how many points do you want this to be? So if I say answer key, now I have to, I'd have to choose the right answer, and I'd have to put in how many points is it worth. Now, if you're saying, they're all worth 1 point, I don't want to keep, putting that in there. Click on the 3 little dots, go down to preferences, and have a default quiz value and save. Remember, 3 little dots, preferences, default quiz value, save. Now you'll notice if we click on any of our questions, we still have that answer key option down. Oh, it says 0 points. Maybe because, let me just refresh. Could be because I did it after the fact too, but it should have it as 1 point. Let's see. Let's click on answer key. All right, well, that didn't seem to work. It may be because I did it after I started this Google form. But you do have the option to make the points the same. All right, so we have looked at some basic functioning with creating some questions, setting some preferences, the grading feature within Google Forms. Also, that grading feature, if you have a Google Classroom, what happens when you sign into your Google Classroom and go to student work, and if it's self-graded, by using this feature in Google Forms, you'll actually see a little button that will say send grades. So the grades will actually come right into your Google Classroom because it's already graded. Now, all right, when you are all done with your quiz and you're ready to, or your quiz, your Google form, and you're ready to send it, you literally hit send, and this is where you can get a link. So you could get the link, go into your Google Classroom, make it an assignment, however you want to do that, or you can just click, get the link. Notice it says shorten URL. It does do it with the Google shortener, so it may go to the students, it may not. But again, all you have to do, so I'll just say copy the link. I'll go up here to a tab. I will do Control V to paste that in, and then notice I go right to the Google form. And I can now complete that and submit. Okay, so that's how you get that to the students. You simply click on send, or again, if you're sending out something to, fellow teachers or whatever you want to do with your Google form, depends on what you're using it for. Now, another thing that I want to show you is there is something called, there's galleries in here. So all I did, I don't know if you noticed, I did a back arrow there, and it took me to my Google form. So in other words, if you want to see the galleries, you either have to have that extension that says, Quick Create Plus, and you can go to the galleries that way. Just took me to the same place. Or again, just go into your Google Forms app. You could go to the Waffle and do that, and go down and find Google Forms and open it that way. But what you can see, these are different forms up here in the template gallery. I'm going to click on those little arrows, and it opens everything up. So there's your most recently used. There's some other, other things going on there. See, like find a time. You can send that out to, co-workers because you're trying to set up a common meeting time. If you're collecting, if you needed contact information, event registration, go down to education. You'll see here's an exit ticket. So this one's already set up. You open it, and you can see now, again, it has name and email, but remember, you can simply click on that. You could garbage can that and say, no, I'm not going to collect email. I'm not going to do that. But see, and it's got some questions already built in. If you didn't like those questions, you could always click, reword those, whatever you need to do. Okay, so what's really nice about that, I'm just going to go back. So what's nice about that is in these Google Forms template gallery, you can even get some ideas just by looking at the templates and what they're for. Right? There's even course evaluation, worksheet, assessment, blank quiz. So again, you can just simply get started with those. Remember though, you have to go into the Google Forms app. See, I'm in the Google Forms app. And again, you open that up by, you can go to the little waffle and choose it. Okay. Or like me, I have this Quick Create Plus extension. You can see the word right there. And I can go right to the galleries that way. Okay. All right. So we've done some creating, showed you how to send it. Now, what I want to do is actually show you what you can do once you start getting responses. Now, certainly you saw responses in a Google form. You could see that data was summarized. You could see it as an individual. You can also, again, use the self-grading feature and send those results to your Google Classroom. Or another thing that you can do, let me go back and get, I'm going to go back and get that one, the blended, yes, this blended learning. So I had this blended learning models quiz. You saw, I'll open that one up. But then I'm also going to go back and open up the responses. So notice there's the form. It's purple. This is in a Google Sheets. All right. So here you see the actual quiz. You can see the response. You can see how many responses. This is where we could click and actually see their responses. Now, I don't know if you noticed up here, but there is, it says view responses in Sheets. Aha. So I actually didn't even need to open up. Once I opened up the Google form, I could simply get to this right here. Now you might be saying to yourself, that doesn't look like 37 responses, and you'd be right. Because here's what's nice about your responses going into a Google Sheet. Now you can manipulate that data just like you would in an Excel spreadsheet. Also, you can do File, Download As, and throw it out of here as a Microsoft Excel if you're more comfortable in Excel, and manipulate it that way. So what's going on here? Let me just go up here and turn the feature off and then turn it back on. Okay, so now you see all the responses. Whoops, I went too far. You can see all 37. You know, this one, it didn't collect their name. It just collected, timestamp is automatically collected. So timestamp, what would be nice about that, if you kept using the same Google form that was anonymous for different classes, you could see, you know, which class it occurred in, things like that. But another thing that you can do, I'm going to click on the number 1. So it selected the whole row. Then I go up here, it looks like a little funnel. Notice it says the word filter. I'm going to click on that. So what it did is it automatically gave me these filters. What do I mean by that? So with each question, I do the drop downs. So if I wanted to see which students gave a certain response, how many said station rotation, I could say, okay. And then these are the people that said station rotation. Well, when I say people, they're anonymous. If I had their names, I could tell exactly who responded that way. Okay, I can also click back on that. All right, and I can just select all, say okay. So now they're all back. So I can do that. All right. I could come in here, you know, I could do all sorts of things. You know, I could right click, you know, I could hide that column, I could delete that column. So again, just like you would manipulate data in an Excel spreadsheet, you do that in a Google Sheet. Now, there's also add-ons. Add-ons, so I've been talking about these Google extensions. They extend the functioning of my Google Chrome browser. Add-ons are right here. They add on a function in a specific Google app, such as now we're in Google Sheets. So all of these do different things for me. Okay. Now, it just depends on what you want to do here in your Google Sheet. So notice it says get add-ons. So what you do is that you say get add-ons and you start to look. So what can these do for you? Okay, so notice there it actually, so what that does is the add-on, it actually gives you a template gallery. So that's all right in there. You don't have to, you know, go out and how we went out and got the Google Forms. Autocrat is a mail merge. That's one that I use a lot. I use it a lot because what that allows me to do is people complete a form, and because I do a lot of online courses. So what happens at the end of the online course, they complete an end of the course survey. They're actually emailed a certificate of completion. Sorry, couldn't think. So you'll see a lot of different, things in here. Like it says, save as a doc, right? So that'll actually you can create. Sorry, let me take a drink here for a second of coffee. All right, there we go. All right. So notice you can take any Google Sheet and just make it into a Google Doc. No worries. Okay, you can do styles. Flubberoo is a fairly common one. That's a self-grading one. That's kind of nice. It'll actually grade things for you. But again, there is that self-grading feature within the Google, the Google Forms themselves. Split names. So when you go and you have different, like they put their first and last name and it comes up in one column, you can split that by using that. This random generator, this actually lets you randomly pick things that are in there within the Google Sheets. Flippity's pretty cool here. Flippity actually lets you create interactive activities and things for the students. So, again, there's so many things in here. So many things in here. You can certainly search too, like if you're thinking, oh, I wish this Google Sheet would do this, you could try to find it. So there's a lot of Google add-ons. So whenever you find one, okay, so, maybe I wanted this remove duplicate. So I would just click on free. Now I have to give it some permissions or allow it to, I have to accept the permissions, choose my account, I'll allow that. So now you're like, well, where is it? So if I go to my add-ons up here, notice I now have removed duplicates. See? So again, and then I just start working with it, depending on the function of it. Now, I don't know if you've noticed in this blended learning models quiz, this says student submissions, and that's what you would normally see. But then this says grades. This actually graded. So this is Flubberoo. This is through Flubberoo. So what Flubberoo did for me is it graded every student. Okay, so I can see how each person answered. I can see what they got. I can come up here and see the average points, counted submissions, number of low scoring questions, and I can actually go down and see at the end of the questions here, it actually does some different, see what it did there? See, actually that was highlighted, but it tells me what was the lowest question. So people missed this one. This is the one that they missed the most. Okay, so that's Flubberoo. Another one that I use, like I said, Autocrat. Now, Autocrat, what does that do for me? So what Autocrat does for me is it allows a student in one of my online courses to get a self-generated certificate of completion. Now, how does that look? Let me go into my drive. And what I actually do is, I'll find an end of the course survey. Hold on here. Okay. So like, for example, here's a coding one that I did, for elementary classroom. I'm going to click on that one. Just going to go ahead and, preview it so I can answer it. So here is the Google form they would get. So it tells them to type their name. So there's my name, yada, yada. It tells me to type in my email address. Remember, it's e1b.org. I'm just doing my Gmail one. Now, this one, I didn't have it set up as a date question because this was back in, this was back in time. And that is a newer type of question. But again, it does give them an example. So today is November 2nd, 2017. Now, it gives me a question. Have you completed all the required assignments? Well, yes, I did. And then I hit next. And it takes me to another section where now I get to answer some questions. How many hours? I'll say I spent less than 6. Was this my first one? No. What did you like about the course? So then this is a paragraph one, so they can type what they want. Describe what you would change. Notice these are all required questions. They have asterisks. Okay, and I say next. Now, when I say next, it tells me congrats. Remember how you could personalize this once they submit? So I say submit. Now, it says I should receive an email. Interesting. So let me go to Gmail and see what happens. And I say, got it. Oh, it's being a little slow today. Hopefully not too slow. All right. All right. Oh, there it is. See how long that took? Seemed like forever. It wasn't that long, though. It says certificate of completion. So now if I look at this, notice it says, Dear Darlinda McTuck. Oh, I didn't even spell my own name right. I can see I'm missing the U. Now it says, it tells me congratulations, and it should be my certificate of completion. So if I open that, let's see what it says. Now, of course, see, everything's going to be. So what's going to happen if this was a participant? They'd be emailing me saying, oh, my name is spelled wrong on there, not realizing they're the one that actually spelled it wrong. But this is all self-generated. So you might be saying, well, how can I use Autocrat? How can I use Flubberoo so I can get these features? Now, here's what I would tell you. The Autocrat, for example, it's not too bad to set up. So if I went back into here and, actually, let me go to my demo one. Let me get rid of some of these. I'm starting to open quite a bunch of these. Let me get to my demo one. So let me go back into my drive, and I will just go to my recent so I can grab that one. Okay, here we go. So let's say, I wanted, this to be, I was going to use Autocrat on this one. So what I can actually do, I've created this, my Google form, so I have everything in it. But what I need to do is go in the responses. I can go to, just say, got it, go to my sheet. So notice when I clicked on that, it says, now I'm going to create a new sheet. I say yes. And you should do that when you're first starting with a Google form. You should click on responses and open up the Google Sheet. I did forget to mention that. Notice there's already some responses here. But what I can do is go to the add-ons, and I'll say I want Autocrat, and I will launch it. So when I launch Autocrat, the nice thing is it actually takes me through a self-guided wizard. So I want to do a new job. So this is what's nice. Your job, okay. Just say okay. So name, So again, I'm not going to take you through this whole process. I will include a video for the Autocrat, but again, it walks you through it because so I can just say demo job. It just keeps taking me through this. Then I have to go get a template because remember, you're going to create something at the end. Autocrat is a mail merge. So either do I have something already created or do I have to go search for something? I could say use. But again, it's pulling it from my Google Drive. Okay, so now see, again, it just keeps walking me through it. So now, how does it find these? Today's date, of course, is in select today's date. First and last name would be in the name column. I say next. And the reason it's picking those out because that certificate of completion needs today's date and it needs your name. Now, what do you want to name the file that they're going to see? What's kind of cool is you can open that tab, select, I just clicked on name, come over here and paste it in there and say, certificate of, completion or course. What type do I want it to be? I choose PDFs. I just leave it in the classic mode. I say next. Now you can choose a folder. Where do you want to put this? So you choose a place to put it in your drive. Okay, so again, I'm going to include under the Google Forms resources, and I'll show you, well, I showed you the website, this website right here. I just realized what I'm going to do is I will include a video in there that walks you through AutoCrat. So what I would suggest when you start doing these add-ons, you come into Google Sheets. Again, I got all these different add-ons in here I use, but I would suggest that you say get add-ons, look for some. But again, like I said, AutoCrat is nice. It's a mail merge. It lets you make it so the students get something at the end, like I said, a certificate of completion or whatever you're doing there. Flippity lets you create interactive, again, activities for the students. Flubberoo is a self-grader. Here's just some things we were playing with, but again, get add-ons. So I will include a video for the AutoCrat if that's something you'd like to look at a little bit further. So again, we started out with an agenda that said we would explore basic functioning. So that was creating questions, setting preferences. We did look at all of that. We did. When we came into our Google form, we started in the questions section. We made some different types of questions. We put in images and videos. And again, you have the little plus symbol there to add questions. As far as settings, we spent time under the cogwheel. We looked at all three of those: general, presentation, quizzes. Remember, presentation is where you could shuffle the question order. Okay, quizzes is where you turn the feature on. And I just realized something I did not show you, because back here it said I would show you how to shuffle the question order, but also the option order. So I'm going to go back into my form here. So if you want to shuffle the question order, that's under the settings, under presentation, is right there, shuffle question order. However, if you want to shuffle the order of question options, when you're editing a question, click on the three dots and say shuffle option order. And then what happens is, so not only can you change the order of the questions, you can also change the order of the question options. Okay, so again, those are some things that you can do to potentially cut down on cheating. And then the fourth thing was the add-ons, which we did go into the spreadsheet and we did go under add-ons and we did explore some of that. And then the last thing it pointed out was the fact of this website. So again, there's that website, and I am going to add a resource that will show some help with the add-ons, such as AutoCrat. Okay, so remember, okay, so again, this was a recorded presentation on Google Forms. So happy Google form making, and again, contact me with my email, which was right here, email dmiktuck@e1b.org. And again, if you're doing this for the 2 professional development hours, make sure that you complete all of their requirements so that you get the 2 professional development hours. Thank you and have a good day.